YOLO, and welcome back to episode 2 of my Pokemon Fire Red Hardcore Nuzlocke. As a reminder, in episode 1 we lost Little Chef, Mr. Punch, and Chicken to a couple of, I'd say, bad mistakes, a few dumb decisions, something that will never happen again. As much as I would like to say that I made it through this episode completely deathless, that would kind of be a lie. Although I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's focus on where we're at now first. First thing I gotta do is grab my shoes, that way I can start running. Because for some reason, you're not allowed to run until you have the special shoes that allow you to. And now I'm fast. I am speed. Pop into the Pokemart, grab some Pokeballs because I need to replace my dead teammates. Now, it's time for some switch training. And why am I going to go do this switch training, you may ask? Well, Metapod is good. But Butterfree is better, and we need that power spike. So, by the power of editing, we blitz through about a half dozen battles and trips back to the Pokemart and Poke Center to heal up, so that we can obtain a Butterfree. With the acquisition of Butterfree, it's time to go back, heal up, and then make our way over to Route 3, where there is an entire gauntlet of trainers. Now that I've got 2 stronger Pokemon, I should be able to battle my way through there and get my encounter. Now you may notice that I just put 420 in the front instead of Bugger. That's because I have a golden strategy. Step 1, throw out 420. Step 2, Leech Seed. Step 3, use my over-leveled powerhouse to obliterate Pokemon. And this worked for the first fight. Since it worked for the first fight, let's see if it works for the second. Yup. How about the third? Okay, you guys get the idea. Now I did swap back and forth a couple times with Butterfree, that way it could get some much needed experience. And I was waiting for this moment here. 420 levels up and gets access to Poison Powder and Sleep Powder. Now, with all the EV training we did in the first episode, we should outspeed most things in the early game. That's going to make it very easy for catching new Pokemon. Just turn 1, Sleep Powder, maybe a Leech Seed, and then throw Pokeballs. On top of that, the first couple of big dangerous fights that we have coming up, being our rival fight and then the Misty fight, which should be a pushover since I'm super effective, but being overconfident with super effectiveness kind of bit me in the butt last time, so I'm not going to rely on super effectiveness. But outspeeding, throwing Sleep Powders should allow me to get the advantage and the extra little edge that we need. Now, the rest of these fights on this route were pretty lame. A bunch of underleveled bugs, so we easily just stomped our way through them, skipping most of these trainers till we get to our next encounter.
Who's that Pokémon? It's Jigglypuff, Jigglypuff, Jigglypuff.
There were a couple of things that immediately went through my mind as soon as I saw the Jigglypuff pull up on screen. And they were not positive.
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
It's the biggest piece of dog shit.
Ugh. Brother, ugh. What's that? What's that, brother?
I caught the pink little mistake and named it Mrs. Puff. Then when I went to look over its moves, I realized it had no combat capabilities. Its only 2 moves were Defense Curl and Sing. It's not even worth switch training because it can't even do anything on its own. It is an utter disappointment, to say the least. However, this is a Nuzlocke, and you play Pokemon that you normally wouldn't play. It's the cards that you are dealt. You play the ball where it lies. And little did I know that this Jigglypuff would end up becoming an absolute unit. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's go ahead and focus up on where we're at and what's going on. I use the tried and true method of being 420 and mogging your enemies by being almost twice their level to easily dispatch this Pidgey. Then I make my way over to one of the greatest opportunities this game has. A Magikarp for only $500 in this economy? Absolutely. I named this thing Last Hope, because honestly I felt like I might end up having to reset the run because a Jigglypuff sucked. And now I want to take a moment to say thank you to some of you guys who have commented on part 1 and to respond to your comments. So first off, we have Christopher here, who had requested that I name a Pokemon Bob. Now the gameplay in the background I had already recorded before he had made his request, but I guarantee you, man, there will be a Pokemon named Bob in your honor. And then the second one by... They came in hot with some good advice for this next gym. Unfortunately, I'd already pre-recorded the episode, but I'm definitely going to be taking their advice to heart in future episodes. Which brings me to the next point. Episodes 1, 2, and 3 I've already recorded the gameplay for, but for episodes 4 and onwards, I'll be able to interact with you guys from comments on previous videos and take your advice. So if you guys have any requests for names for Pokemon, let me know in the comments below of this video, and from episode 4 and onwards, I'll try and name them what you guys request. Now, unfortunately, I did just name a female Geodude Bro, so clearly I need the help when it comes to the naming department. And now we run into the main problem I have with Mount Moon, which is my own fault, really. I could have very easily bought a repel, but it is these Zubats, which will attack me over and over and over throughout the course of this entire mountain. It feels like every Zubat known to Kanto lives in Mount Moon. As I was slogging my way through the sea of Zubats, which I really wish I had gotten a Zubat, but I guess Miss Bro is fine, I come across a Geodude who gives me just enough experience to level up from a sweet little 420 Bulbasaur into a rather impressive and intimidating Ivysaur. And when it goes as far as middle stage evolutions, Ivysaur I think is one of the better middle stage evolutions, because they always feel like that weird, awkward teenage phase. But Ivysaur stands out as at least being well done. I'm not saying it's the best middle stage evolution, but it's probably top 3 at least. And now we run into our first Team Rocket Grunt. Now, I always wondered why they were in Mount Moon, and looking back, with hindsight, I assume it's just to get fossils. They're here for either evolution stones to power up their Pokemon, or what I suspect is the actual fossils. That way they can resurrect dinosaur Pokemon to help them take over. Because they don't really belong in Mount Moon, but everywhere else you find them, it makes sense. You got one at the Nugget Bridge, bullying trainers committing crime, someone breaking into somebody else's house, a secret base under the casino, because, casinos and mafia, it just makes sense. Hello, Viva Las Vegas. And then we have the giant corporation, aka corporatocracy bad. The hostile takeover, if you will. The games were made in, the 90s, I believe, so it makes sense. Now, you may have noticed in the background, which has sped up just a tad, that I've been doing a lot of Switch training with Last Hope. That is because we do not have access to the experience shares. The newer games just give you experience share or give you mass group experience share, which is a blessing and a curse. But in these older games, you had to earn it. I believe in this one you have to have registered or at least seen 50 Pokemon before they give you your experience share, and you have to find a specific NPC to get it. Correct me if I'm wrong, it's been a hot minute. But that brings me to a point. I am going to more than likely be massively underleveled for the entire playthrough unless I do one of 3 things. 1, hack the game and bring in tons of rare candies. Now, I can't really do that because A, I don't know how, B, my friend sent me over the emulator file and I am not a computer tech guy, and C, I actually think that unless you're a big-time streamer doing it on Twitch, hacking in rare candies is kind of lame because it takes away those chances of a random critical hit knocking out one of your Pokemon while you're grinding. Option number 2. The grind, brother! You must get your Bugatti! You must grind! Fighting wild Pokemon until you level up. Now this has the added benefit of also EV training, making your Pokemon smarter, faster, better, stronger. Older, better, faster, stronger. But you are vulnerable to random critical hits that could kill you. And then option number 3, which I will take advantage of later on in this series, the daycare. See, if you put a Pokemon in the daycare, every step you take is 1 experience point that Pokemon gets. So if you end up just running back and forth a ton of times while on speed up, you're going to get a lot of experience really fast. And that's how I'm going to try and stay relatively competitive for where I'm at, but never using it to max up to specific levels caps, except for maybe very hard boss fights, like against your rival or the Elite Four. Well, probably the Elite Four for sure, since I'm only going to get one attempt at that, and it would suck to wipe out on the first one. After showing absolutely no mercy to Hiker Marcos's Onyx, which feels so satisfying after what happened last episode, I end up proceeding deeper into Mount Moon. Well, I was going to, but then I remembered my Pokemon have run out of PP. So, we take a rain check on that, use an escape rope, run back and heal, but then we blitz back and go deeper into Mount Moon. For anyone keeping track, I got attacked by 5 wild Pokemon on the way back to where I was. 3 of them were Zubats. So if somebody was actively keeping score of how many wild Zubats have attacked me, there's an additional 3 that attacked me off screen that you can add to your tally mark and put in the comments below. Now if you see right here, 420 is level 17, which had me starting to get a little bit nervous, because the level cap for Misty is 21. And I seem to have developed this pattern of start the battle, switch into 420, and let him do all the work, which has resulted in him getting a lot of experience. So I've started branching out, using other Pokemon like Bro or Bugger to do the heavy lifting. That way I can save his levels, if I need to, for the fights leading up to Misty. Now, some of you smart mathematicians out there may have realized the level cap for Misty is level 21. But Last Hope, the Magikarp, evolves at level 20, which means it is possible to have a Gyarados by the time you fight Misty, which would actually be really helpful because her Starmie or Staryu, I don't remember which one's the evolved version, is actually quite a beast this early in game, so any kind of advantage you could use against it would be very helpful. And now we've finally made it into the Pokemon Nerd, the dude who stands between us and a fossil. Luckily, Bugger is super effective against his Grimer, so we pop a couple of confusions, and easy peasy pudding and pie, we go and make Grimer die. The Voltorb had me a little concerned, but I knew at this level it probably didn't know any powerful electric moves, so easily dispatched it. The chance of me getting paralyzed, incredibly low, and even if I did, I could always swap into 420 and let him do all the work. After thoroughly trouncing this nerd, we are given the opportunity to pick a fossil. Obviously, I go with the Helix fossil, the only correct choice, and I once again get jumped by a Geodude on my way out of this cave. The sooner I leave this cave, the better. It is driving me absolutely batty. But after killing the final Pokemon of Mount Moon, hopefully I never have to come back here and see another one of their wretched faces again. We make our way over to these 2 karate dudes. Now, these karate dudes are what ends up giving my Jigglypuff the massive power spike, but I didn't realize it. My first instinct was to teach the moves to usable Pokemon, useful Pokemon, good Pokemon. I was hating on poor Miss Puff, the Jigglypuff, way too much. But I ended up teaching Bro Mega Punch. But seeing Mega Punch was a normal type move got me thinking. I bet Mega Kick, being a normal type move, would actually go well on Jigglypuff, since she is normal type, and having a stab, powerful normal type move early game might actually make her kind of useful. So I go and I teach it to her, especially since I don't plan on coming back to this place. And it was that one decision that ended up making Jigglypuff one of the powerhouses of my team, and making me realize I actually like Jigglypuff now. Before, I never would have used it. But now, with this, and this hyper-specific situation of having a move tutor, Jigglypuff will end up becoming a really valuable member of my team. But that's enough Jigglypuff foreshadowing. Now let's focus on buying some Pokeballs and other essential items. My first order of business, double back to the route I was just on, hit the tall grass and see what I can get. I was really hoping for an Ekans with Intimidate or maybe even Shed Skin. But I got this bird instead. Now, there just so happens to recently have been an opening on my team for a bird, since the previous occupier of my bird position was retired. So I go ahead and I decide to grab this thing, so I end up naming this thing Miss Flap, our 6th team member. And now the second order of business. Do I go for the rival fight in the Nugget Bridge, get the experience I need, or do I go over to Misty's gym? I double back, heal up, and I ultimately make the decision to check out the gym, see how tough it is, and if I need to, then I can go back, hit the bridge, because you can kind of do things in any order. First of the gym trainers, only 2 Pokemon, but it comes out strong with a level 16 Horsey. Now this should have been a warning, and I'm starting to get flashbacks to gym trainers with strong Pokemon like Sandshrew as an omen to what the gym leader would be like. But I'm super effective! Plus 420 is even stronger now than before, and I would never make a rookie mistake like panicking mid-battle and getting another Pokemon killed. So I decide, let's do it! As you can see here, I was definitely being overconfident. He was asleep, but he could have woken up. I had switched into Miss Puff. That was a completely unnecessary risk. Just for a little bit of healing or switch training. It was a bad idea. Don't do that in your own Nuzlocks. Be better than me. I make my way boldly over to the second trainer. Both of the trainers in this gym are actually optional. And I, once again, switch into 420. Use my stronger Pokemon. And then lay a beat down. It's a tried and true strategy that hasn't failed me yet, and if my starter ever dies, I'm probably guaranteed to lose this run. I almost immediately challenged Misty, but then the echoes of the ghosts of the past, the shadows that haunted me, the horrible memory of what that Onix had done, ran through my mind, and I realized a couple extra levels probably wouldn't hurt. Let's go and do the Nugget Bridge bit first. Take on the rival at the very least. Try and squeeze a little extra power before I go and fight Misty. So then I run to the bridge, and the IRS decides they want to try and run my pockets. They come out strong with a Pidgey level 17, or Pidgeotto level 17. Now Miss Puff is nowhere near strong enough to take that, but Bro is. Bro is an absolute defensive powerhouse, and has super effective moves. But then, this bird starts fighting dirty. It starts kicking sand in my Pokemon's face. There is no honor. There is no glory. There is only shame and despair. And it really aggravates me because after 2 sand attacks, it's pretty difficult to actually land some consistent hits. We did get lucky and finally were able to kill that thing. Got a level, not much. And then out came Charmander. This squishy little Charmander really should have been evolved at this point. And now I'm panicking. Anakin, I'm panicking. I don't have a plan again. I cannot swap into my starter. I cannot swap into my bug, which is my second strongest. But Miss Flap looks like she might be able to take an attack without dying. Yeah, nah, she was weak. She sucked. But it does give me the safe switch in to a good Pokemon, 420. Who outspeeds, like we had mentioned earlier, and gets the critical sleep off. Unfortunately, that is a death, so we are now 2 for 2 episodes in this series with deaths. Abra, easily dispatched, and then he just taunts me by having a living rat while mine rots 6 feet underground. I vanquish the IRS, which is something I wish I could say in real life. But with that, I decide to make my way back to the hospital and drop off the corpse of this bird that I just got. So long, farewell, Miss Flap. Gone too soon. Although you kinda sucked, so I don't really miss you. At this point it was late in the day, so I decided to call it here and have the entire Misty battle be one of the first things that happens in the next episode, episode 3. But thank you guys for watching. And don't forget to put Pokemon nicknames in the comment section. I'll read through them and I'll start picking and choosing those names because anything is better than Bro on a female Geodude at this point. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the flip side.